You know, when you think of philosophers, you probably picture them staring up at the stars, trying to figure out the universe. But what happens when a philosopher turns that telescope around and points it inward, at the very mind doing all the looking? Well, that's David Hume for you. He was the brilliant thinker who decided the most important thing to investigate was the investigator itself. And he kicks things off with a question that's, frankly, a little unnerving. What if that solid, stable sense of you that you feel every single day, what if it's not actually real? What if it's just an elaborate trick your mind is playing on you? I mean, wow, that's the kind of mystery Hume dared to unravel. So this is our guy, David Hume. He was living right in the middle of the Scottish Enlightenment, a time when science was just exploding. He saw what Isaac Newton had done for physics, mapping out the laws of the planets, and he thought, hey, why can't we do that for the human mind? He wasn't interested in dusty old traditions. He wanted to build a brand new science of man from the ground up. So yeah, his mission was incredibly ambitious, to become the mind's first real scientific investigator and figure out the fundamental laws that make us tick. And this wasn't just him sitting in an armchair thinking abstract thoughts. Hume truly believed that by carefully, and I mean carefully, observing his own mind in action, he could figure out the universal principles that govern all of our minds, everything from why we believe the sun will rise tomorrow to how we decide what's right and wrong. He was basically trying to draw the first ever blueprint of our inner universe. But, before you can build a blueprint, you need a toolkit, and Hume's was brilliantly simple. He said, every single thing that happens in our mind, the whole shebang, can be sorted into just two categories. First up, we've got impressions. Think of these as the raw, 4K, high-definition data streaming directly into your brain. It's the feeling of warmth from a fire on your skin right now, the sharp, sour taste of a lemon, that immediate gut punch of sadness. They are vivid, they are forceful, and they are happening now. And then, on the other hand, we have ideas. These are just the echoes of our impressions. It's not the warmth, it's the memory of the warmth. It's not the taste, it's the thought of the taste. They're always less intense, kind of like a faded photograph of that original live experience. Now, from this simple little distinction, Hume creates this incredibly powerful tool he called the copy principle. Basically, he claimed that any real, genuine idea has to be traceable back to an original impression. This became his philosophical reality check. So when you hear some big, complicated philosophical concept, Hume's test is simple. Can you break it down and find the raw sensory experience it came from? If you can't, well, it might just be meaningless chatter. So armed with this new toolkit, Hume immediately goes after one of the biggest, most fundamental beliefs we have, something we rely on every single second of every day. And what he found was a bombshell. He uses a really simple example, a game of billiards. Okay, first thing we see, billiard ball A is rolling towards ball B. Simple enough. And then we see a second event that always reliably follows. Ball A hits ball B, and then ball B moves. We've all seen this 1,000 times. We say ball A caused ball B to move. Obvious, right? But here is Hume's brilliant and kind of devastating question. Look closer. Really, really look. You see the first ball moving. You see the second ball moving. But do you ever actually see the causation? Can you point to the specific sensation, the impression of that necessary connection that forces one to move the other? Hume's answer is a hard no. You can't. It's not there to be seen. And this is the whole point. For Hume, cause and effect isn't some law we're observing out there in the world. It's a feeling of expectation inside our own minds. Because we've seen B follow A again and again and again, our mind just develops this powerful habit, this instinct, to expect it to happen again. Causation isn't a law of physics we perceive, it's a psychological custom, a habit of the mind. So if our certainty about the outside world is really just a mental habit, then what about our inner world? Hume turns that investigative lens inward and goes hunting for the most personal thing we have, the self. And this quote pretty much tells you everything about what he found, or maybe more accurately, what he didn't find. He's saying, look, every time I try to look inside for the me at the center of everything, I don't find a self. I just find a specific thought, or a particular feeling, or some sensation. I find the individual experiences, but I can never, ever catch the experiencer. This led him to his radical bundle theory. What we call the self, says Hume, isn't some solid, continuous thing. It's actually more like a movie.
Just a super fast succession of different thoughts, feelings, and perceptions, all flowing by so quickly that our memory tricks us into thinking it's one continuous person. We aren't a core being having experiences. We are the bundle of experiences themselves.
So let's recap. If our all-powerful reason can't even prove that one billiard ball causes another to move and can't even find a stable self, then what hope does it have in guiding our moral lives? For Hume, the answer was pretty much none. Something else is in the driver's seat. For centuries, the big idea in philosophy was that reason is the master, right? It's supposed to control our wild, unruly passions. Well, Hume just walks in and flips the whole table over. He argued that it's our passions, our feelings, our desires that are the true motivators. Reason doesn't choose our destination. It's just a really clever tool, a slave, that our passions use to figure out the best way to get there. And this brings us to his most famous, and at the time, most scandalous statement. And when you think about it, it makes sense. You don't help a friend in need because you've worked out some logical proof. You do it because you feel compassion. You don't chase a goal because of pure calculation. You do it because you desire the outcome. Our feelings set the agenda. Our logic just helps us execute the plan. So this all feeds directly into his ideas on morality. For Hume, morality isn't some cosmic set of rules handed down by a god or discovered by pure logic. No, it grows out of our shared human feelings. We call actions good because they spark a feeling of approval in us, usually because of sympathy for other people. We praise things like kindness and justice because they're useful and agreeable for society. Morality, in short, is a human invention for human purposes. As you can probably guess, Hume's deep dive into the mind sent shockwaves through the world of philosophy that we still feel today. He left behind this powerful legacy of both profound doubt and absolutely groundbreaking discovery. I mean, his work was so powerful that the legendary Immanuel Kant famously said Hume was the one who awoke him from his dogmatic slumber, forcing him to rethink literally everything. His moral theory became the foundation for utilitarianism, and today, modern cognitive scientists look back at Hume's work as a kind of founding document for their entire field, one of the very first attempts to map the software running on the human brain. And so Hume leaves us with this incredible, enduring challenge. If our most fundamental beliefs are belief in cause and effect, in our own continuous self, in the difference between right and wrong, if all of these are ultimately grounded not in objective reality, but in psychological habit and human feeling, what then can we ever truly be certain of? It's a question that, once you really hear it, is impossible to forget.